So maybe we should. Oh,
Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had them over, they would eat up all your food. It's time for therapy dudes.
Andre Karkamas.
yes.
Happy New Year.
Oh,
Happy
Happy New
New
Year.
Year.
Happy New We made it to 2026. Unfortunately, a lot of people I love did not. That's morbid. Wow.
Ouch. Starting off the year. You
Jeez.
I no, it's right. It's a fair actual, thing to just address because that has been, a major life change. And
Yeah.
um it's it's going to affect how the year gets out of the gate for you. But I also want to understand sort of holistically, like what's it been like? Because when we first got on this morning, you were like, "I'm doing good,"
Uh,
and
oh, you
and I
know,
took that to mean like, oh, like
got my
the
coffee.
grief processing has evolved and shifted, and you're getting your life force back. But maybe that's not your
No, I'm getting my
experience.
life force back. I'm getting my life force. I've just been the last 2 years have taught me to protect my peace and my energy and to notice when heavy emotion hits, kind of sit with it, regulate it, and think about what's important for the day, right? Like it's actually trained me really well. Um, in terms of grief, I've never lost, someone that close. I lost two people that really, really close to me this year. One in June, and then my father in November. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just weird, you know. It's like, where did they go? I have my beliefs and all that, but I think that that's the hardest part about the grief is I'm so used to having a tangible person, and you're good at this too, by the way. So used to having them here to take care of them, you know,
Hmm.
and figure out a way where you can insert yourself in a positive way. I don't know how to help someone who passed away, and I often think about, is there something I'm missing? Is there something spiritual I should be doing? So that's kind of where I'm at in the grief process. Is like, did they want to talk to me? Is there a way to do that? And like I've been thinking pretty woo-woo to be honest. Um,
Right. Right. Well, and I feel like that's a common experience for people to try to figure out, like, what is the next step with this relationship of somebody who's passed. And
yeah.
I think as you do that,
Mm,
the other piece that occurs to me is the question of not just what can you do for this person, how can you help this person, but how do you care for yourself and add some extra level of, self-care and support as you go through this grief and loss process.
yeah.
Because that I think as caregivers, it's easy for us to focus on others, and when we're hurting, often it's less, natural, or we're just not as attuned to, like, what do we do for ourselves. And
Yeah.
that that healing process, right, and just processing the whole experience, I think, is ongoing, and something
Yeah.
that it's it's good to lean into, and to give yourself some space, and to be thinking about what it is that you need, and to be letting other people help you and support you during this time.
Yeah. Well, the grief has made me like very boundaried. Like that's one thing that I need. It's made me like a kind of a no bullshit, kind of straight to the point type of person right now because I'm constantly experiencing a deep sadness, and for these two individuals in particular, um, I don't know. I know you lost your father, and I think this is like a point in which you and I can now relate, but I don't know if you had these experiences. I constantly think about, how much he wanted to live and how hard he fought to live and how sad he was that he wasn't going to be with us. And those kind of thoughts, I don't know if it's helpful to dive into that. I don't know what it does for me, but like it creeps up all the time. And I just have flashbacks of their lives and how much these people wanted to live and be here with us. It's just hard for me to keep going when I feel like something. This is where I think religion is helpful. Like, never have I really thought about it this way until I've lost people like this. Um, there needs to be some hope for me that they're okay, that they're not just that this is my grief process that I'm talking about, but like that they're just it meant something. They meant something. They're not just gone, and don't exist and there was no value to what they had. And I don't know. I need to know that they're okay. That's part of my grief process, and I've been trying to figure out how to do that through Christianity or through mediums. Or I know that sounds like an oxymoron because apparently they conflict, but I'm trying to figure out how to figure out if they're okay and what I'll believe. And that's the hardest part of grief for me so far, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one of my mentors, one of my grad school professors who I, stayed in touch with and would, you know, visit regularly for support after I'd graduated. Um,
Mm.
she passed away early from a stroke, and there was
Oof.
this sense that I had that like my sort of like beacon of like how to orient my life and when I felt kind of confused or just overwhelmed or lost, like she was this sort of like shining light, and that was gone, and
No.
that it fell like in my mind it fell to me to sort of take up the reins, and like to the degree that her life would still
Exists through
kind
you.
right, that there was some part of like a call to action that I felt like I wanted to try to embody what her energy and her spirit was like, to continue to bring that out into the world. And there may be some parallel way that with your father, like he wanted to live, and a part of him lives on through you.
Yeah. That's well said. Oh, that made me emotional. Oh, sweet. I'll tell you right now, I'm definitely having that experience. I feel like when I am, did you get emotional, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was sweet. See, he's a good guy. But okay, so I'll address that. I feel like something really interesting has happened to me around that, where things that used to get to me, I feel like I can hear my dad's voice. I'm not saying it's a spiritual thing. I just feel like the grief is so palpable that he's always a part of me right now. Like, and every time I have any kind of interaction with anyone or thought process, I feel like my dad's presence is through what I think he would say is guiding it. Like he would say, "Let that go. Don't be upset about that, son." Like I hear him talking to me, not like in a schizophrenic way, but in a like, this is what I think he would have told me. This is how I feel he would have wanted me to act. And so that's been playing out a lot. And I've stepped up mainly for my family, myself, and just lessons he tried to teach me over the years and things he said to me over the years echo through me every day. And I play them out pretty pretty true to what he's trying to do with me. I really am trying to honor it. But now I've had slip ups where I've let anger get to me. I've let people, kind of I fed into dysfunctional things with certain people at times and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm letting him down very much when I do that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really feel like I'm trying to live a life that honors my father and honors my client who passed away because, our clients are wise too. Sometimes they give us a little gift in our interactions and then they either move on in life or, unfortunately they pass away or something happens and their energy stays with us. Like we're really blessed to do the work we're doing with people.
Yeah. So how does that like translate to your experience just like getting up in the morning, getting the gears going?
Oh God. Actually, the mornings are really hard. I get up and I literally say something like, I miss you, Dad. It's
Yeah.
probably the first thing that comes out of my mouth. Or, I miss you to in my client's name, or I don't know, it's a little prayer that because I feel the grief so heavy early in the morning and so heavy in the evening. It's when I'm offline, and everything in the unconscious starts to manifest in my dreams. I have a dream about my father. I have a dream about my client who passed away. Not as much about my client who passed away these days because, that was in June. My father died in November. But getting up in the morning is like, it's hard right now. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard. How did you deal with that? When I know you struggled a lot when your father passed away.
Poorly. I dealt with it
You've
poorly.
never even told this one mystery I don't know about you is like this part of your life because you've told me everything. And then when it comes to this, it's like there's a wall up and you can protect yourself. And we definitely don't have to talk about it on a public podcast, but clearly it was rough, whatever happened.
Right. I mean, I don't want to get into the specific details of
No,
how
no,
it
go.
just broke apart and was like, really dysfunctional in a way that impacted my ability to be a good father and
Sure.
husband. And
Well, grief is hard.
right.
And I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean it's this is like over, I think it's like 10 or 11 years or maybe even 12
Sure.
years now. Like it's been a minute. And
Yeah.
and I've been able to, really like get to a place of that being like more fully processed. But at the time, I I almost had to just, I mean, I it's not like I almost, like I had to like put up a bit of an emotional like compartmentalization so that, I had a process where I would meditate at different, mornings during the week. And that was where I would kind of go into my feelings about my dad and then what happened to me through that process. And then I would patch myself up and just kind of, you know, put that to the side and go do my day. And I was really trying to be intentional about
Wow.
figuring out how to like get my day-to-day living experience to be like back on track and healthy and functional, and then have a process where I could, go in deep with my grief around my father. And the for me it was helpful to try to like have that ritual of grieving with my father and to separate that from just day-to-day functional living, because initially when it was kind of, all blended together, which I think is inevitable initially, it was like I wasn't really diving into the grief and the processing because I was feeling this stress and pressure to like functionally show up in my world.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't totally functionally showing up in my world because I was having all these intrusive thoughts and feelings about like what was going on with my father's passing and my grief around that. So when I like got into more of a rhythm of, this is like the time and the structure where I'm going to like have this ritual where I just kind of lean into the grief and think about my dad. And
Yeah.
um, I still have these beads from this necklace, right? It's like right here, right? It's in my hand now. I know people can't like see that who are listening, but that stays close to me over a decade later. And
Oh.
it's it was something that I would, have and have a picture of him when I was going into my grief to be able to process it. But it really helped because then at other points in the day, if I was getting intrusive thoughts or feelings that I didn't want to have sort of like break me apart when I needed to like show up in the world and show up for my family and for my work and for my wife,
Yeah.
I was able to say like, okay, we will tend to this thought and this feeling, next time I'm sitting down and meditating and thinking about this. So there was a place to like
Put it.
park that energy. Right. Yeah.
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 And
And
kind of, and they do that in EMDR.
mm,
They call it, what do they call it? Containment. You
mm,
literally create, one of the phases is you create, um, kind of like a box or a vault or something. Before you start doing the work in EMDR, you have to create containment and a place called safe place and all that. And it's all through visualization and compartmentalization. You're actually told to create this so you can put the trauma away at the end of a session. We contain the trauma and then we acknowledge that it's still there and we'll address it next session, but we're putting it away so we don't have to feel it right now. And I think compartmentalization is actually quite healthy.
mm.
It's a resilient strategy. It's not bypassing, it's not like pretending that things don't matter. It's saying, hey, I see you. I see this issue. I see this pain, and you're important, and we're going to come back to you when I can give you my full attention.
Yeah. And to create, space and a process for
Yeah,
how to do that so that it's not just this like ambiguous, like we'll come back to you later, but then we don't actually fully experience it and get into it. And
right.
that was definitely necessary for me because I think I couldn't have done both living my sort of day-to-day life and grieving simultaneously. I needed to kind of pull them apart as two, distinct processes that had their
Yeah.
own kind of time and routine.
Good for you for being so conscious about it. I have not been, and that's surprising to hear because it sounds like whatever you went through was awful, and I have not been as conscious about it. I've kind of just let it come in waves and as it comes, and tried to speak. Like I've called I've called my best friend. I've called, well, you're my best friend too. We're not going to start labeling here, okay? I've called good friends of mine, you and another guy. You saw Morgan, you met Morgan, but. Um, we've been friends for like 12 years. So I think 12, I mean, 10 years, 10 years. But God, I think it's so funny how quickly I want to please like you and make you feel like you're just as important. That is hilarious. I just catch
Yeah,
that.
I know. It's like,
I'm
oh,
like, what the hell did I just do that for? God,
it's okay if I'm
it's,
not your bestie. I can be your second bestie. And
but I love you. That's the point. And you're always going to be a good friend. Um, but I have to be your bestie. It's not the other way around. It's not fair. So, okay, back on track. I have leaned on support at times, and it's helped. You've helped. Um, he's helped. My sister's helped. I've helped my sister. My mom's helped. I've helped my mom. Um, I got some good people out there that support me, but I have a problem with containment. I have never been good at containing, especially like deep, heavy emotion like sadness. I'm not saying that I react. I'm saying that I can't not, like, sometimes I just feel too much.
yeah,
I'm good at containing a reaction or a response, right? But sometimes it feels suffocating to have an ocean of grief overcome you, and I can't put it away. I try the visualization techniques. I try creating containment. I truly think that I grew up with a very emotional mother, and I learned how to occupy a nervous system that mimics hers.
mm,
And so I've always had to like learn how to contain because she is to this day, my mom is still working on containment. Like she's not even close. And so she's just a very emotional Italian Mediterranean woman. And I feel it
yeah,
deeply since I was a kid. And I think that that's why it's like that for me. It was just modeled to me. But it would be so nice to learn how to contain or feel that. I feel like that's a power. I feel like that's a superpower. I feel like people who can do that, in a healthy way where they're not bypassing or dodging accountability or something like that, I feel like those people have a huge advantage in our society.
This is so great to hear you talking about emotions because when I first met you years ago, like for those of you who have only heard Andre's voice and haven't gotten to see the whole picture of who this man is, bearded, sometimes bald, looking like the toughest guy on the basketball court, wearing one of these tough guy necklaces. This is the kind of person that would bully me when I was in high school because I was such a little puny turd. And I would sort of cower in fear when somebody like Andre walked by. And to see this actually like fully formed human that has like this richness of an emotional spectrum and depth of feeling is um, so corrective for my adolescent experience. Because
Oh, is that why you brought me in so early? You're just like, I like this guy. He's like the threat, but somehow he's not that I need to overcome.
well, I mean, the original reason why I found you so intriguing was because my psychological warfare on the basketball court backfired hideously, and just
You,
to share a little detail of that,
okay.
um, when I'm guarding somebody who is a better opponent than I am, my typical go-to is to try to get them out of their flow state when they look like they're in a zone by just giving them a compliment that usually makes them feel self-conscious a little bit, and then they kind of like try to compliment me back or downplay it. And I know I've got them like into their like thoughts and feelings instead of just this like sensory like dialed in zone. So Andre, you were in the zone, and I was like, hey, like, go easy on me. I'm an old man. Like, just, try to, try to, try to go light. And your only response, like there was no like emotional, like, I'm going to placate this dude. Like, as you were like, sort of, I don't know, like pleasing my feelings or taking care of me by making sure that you knew that I was your best friend too. That did not happen on the basketball court that day.
No,
That day, you were just like,
I looked at
don't
you.
take it personally, and then you just moved on. And I was like, oh shit, I am going to get so screwed. And then you just crushed me. And I was like, wow, this dude is dialed in. And then later, we were like joking about that and found out that you were like a therapist. And I was like, okay, he's got like an advanced sort of like own set of like, psychological practices and ways to like work with your mind. And it was like a cool way to just like get to know you first through basketball and then through our like similar work.
Yeah. No, that experience was great. I it's funny that you mention it because I knew exactly what you were trying to do when you looked at me and said that. I was like, this guy is trying to get in my head. And most of sports is psychological. Like I fully believe that. If you're in a flow state, it's because you're not letting anything dictate your focus, right? And how you feel about what you're capable of doing. The moment you let someone else come in and shift that focus, you're already losing.
Right. Once you start to imagine how people are judging you, you're in a very different part of your brain than what's required for athletic flow state, quick sensory input, motor skill output, right? Motor response output.
Confident,
That
yeah.
flow is gone as we're like sort of judging ourselves and imagining how people are judging us and thinking about how to like respond to this person in a way that like tends to whatever ways we feel like we need to take care of them and all that. So, um, yes, I tip my hat to you, sir. That was a
No,
very fun.
it was a good tactic. I was like, wow. I also thought, wow, he knows what he's doing when you said that.
Well, and I mean, like that one has like paid dividends for
Oh,
me
I've seen.
over and over the years.
I've watched people because of you. I watched their body language shift and start to like soften. They stop running as much. They're kind of like almost trying, they're like looking at you as they're trying to beat you to see if you're close enough to them because they don't want to be too far away from you. It's
Yes, yeah.
such an indoctrination to like To be
Right.
nice
It's
to
like,
you.
let's tend to the old man.
You're not even old. Those jokes are just for fun. You're just highly manipulative. Um,
All right, that was a good, like, I'll give that 3.5 stars. I like that
3.5.
one.
Okay.
Four, I'm
You're
gonna be a little stingy with the 4 stars, but 3.5 definitely.
all right. Well, manipulative in a good way. Everyone's manipulative. Kids are manipulative. My God. It's just what kind of manipulation? Where is it? Is it altruistic No, no, not altruistic. Is it malevolent or benevolent? Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, right,
Uh,
right. Well,
uh,
and I think also just like at a really young age, it's not calculated. It's not,
to
we
get
can,
their needs met.
right, we can call it manipulative because they're presenting in a certain way to get a certain response, but it's not, I don't think it's really like, you know, classic manipulation, because it's not this like deliberation where they're like trying to like figure out how to mess with this other person, and it's not like,
When do you think that kicks in? Is that teenagehood?
oh, absolutely, in adolescence there's a much more, because you can conceptualize once you get that part of your brain online. By the time you're like 12 or 13, you can start to imagine what the other person is thinking or feeling in a much deeper way. And then you can kind of play out iterations of different kinds of conversations or how they might respond to what you do in a far more sophisticated manner. So teenagers tend to become quite capable of derailing their parents
Oh
when
yeah,
they
I've
get
seen
into
it.
arguments, in
Yeah.
part because the empathy doesn't come along as quickly as this ability to like debate and point out hypocrisy and derail the other person's argument. That like sort of lawyer like argument skill has gotten like quite dialed in quickly.
What?
Empathy
Yeah.
takes a little longer unless they're deliberately trying to figure out like, how is this person feeling, how am I affecting them, which some people naturally are into and their brain just naturally goes there. But especially for like, you know, a 14-15 year old, often they're just like very quick to crush their parents. And
Do you think that that's because of how society is built right now, like the modern day version of society where the values of building empathy aren't really there? It takes like accountability to create empathy, and a lot of us are distracted. Our kids are distracted by electronics constantly, and they're not being held accountable by their peers usually because everyone's kind of distracted. And
right, I think it is definitely some, what, that's the nurture side of the nature nurture
yeah,
thing. But I know like with my own kids, one of the four from birth was just attuned to that. And I think it's the same way that, like, you know, some people's minds just naturally will notice like color or shapes or numbers, or they're interested in cars, or they move their
right.
body physically.
They're
And
biologically wired that way.
right, it just is like what their brain gives attention to and focuses on. And some, like, the brain is filtering out a tremendous amount of information, right? The brain is like, our consciousness is like a flashlight in this vast cave of things that we could be attuned to, and it just zeroes in on one thing, and it kind of habitually will go to that. So kids that are good at math, they just tend to like sort of go to math and think about numbers and kind of work that stuff through, even when they're not in math class. Kids that are empathetic are just kind of, for whatever reason, their flashlight is turned towards like, huh, how is this person feeling? What did that facial expression mean? And they're just curious that way.
That's
So
a
yeah, I guess it's
great
both, right?
metaphor.
It's a nature and a nurture
Yeah.
thing, but society influences it. But I think so does like somebody's, you know,
Biology,
yeah.
wiring. Yeah. I wonder if I got a double whammy. I feel like I've always been emotional. And then, I had the nurturing side, my mom being extraordinarily emotional.
Um, I mean, I'd say it's like a double gift, right? Like, you like, this is why you're good at your work.
Oh,
If you were
thanks.
just like, hey, rub some dirt on it and just kind of like,
Put a pillow over it.
right, like that wouldn't, like, you wouldn't be able to attune to your clients. And you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing with your family and your kids as you're trying to like process your grief with your dad. Like you're aware
Yeah,
it's a
my
lot to
daughter is
feel, but it's also like a whole deeper level of like a sophisticated understanding of what's going on an emotional level so that you can navigate it in a much more skillful way than most
thanks,
people.
man. Sometimes I don't see it as a gift because, when you feel all the time, a lot of what you're trying to do, as I said earlier, is contain or, redirect or refocus because, emotions, I like to think of it as emotions pull you into a thought process and then turn that thought process into a behavior, right? Goes emotion, thought, behavior, or it can be any, you could have any starting point, but for me, it's like a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Not a thought process or a behavior. For me, it always starts with a feeling, an emotion, and then a thought pops up. And then the behavior comes out like, oh, I don't want to do it. I want to isolate or whatever. Or, oh, I have this feeling of sadness. So that means that, there's something wrong. And I start thinking about like, why am I sad? And then the behavioral aspect of that is I'm a verbal processor, so I want to talk about it with someone like you or and you've observed this about me, like and then maybe I'm annoying people and right, like and I'm not saying that you've ever told me I'm annoying you, but I know that like I don't want to be that guy that every time I have a difficult feeling, I'm gonna call someone and be like, "Hey, can you help me calm down?" Like, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
So a lot of it has been working on containment for me and redirecting and refocusing.
I have some more questions, but I wanna do it in part two because I know we're like, coming against the clock here. So
You got
let's
it.
wrap this one up and then we'll start off with the stuff that I want to ask you about.
Okay.
Therapy dudes, take away your stress.
That really doesn't sound good.
If you had a brother, they would eat up all your food.
Dan,
That doesn't sound good.
no, it sounds like it's in the background. I don't think
Ah,
we
okay.
have not shared the screen correctly.
Okay. Well,
You
that
lost
was
your
the
computer,
outro. Till
right?
next time. Thanks for listening. Check out BoulderPsychologicalServices.com, our sponsor. Talk to you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.